Hello and welcome to episode 8 for our Let's Play of The Two Towers. In the last episode we finished exploring the Golden Hall, and upon exiting we discovered that Aragorn's sword Anduril has been stolen. So before we make our way to Helm's Deep, we'll need to recover Aragorn's sword for him. So we'll start out by exiting the city the way we entered, just by following this path here to the north. And also in the last episode we recruited Theoden, Éomer, and Hama into our party. And we found the items from the Golden Hall for the army of Rohan to march under. But anyways, when you exit the city, you'll want to keep along the path to the west. Till you come to this, there's a T-shaped intersection you should come to. This right here. But we'll go a little bit to the west here first, because there's one quest we can pick up here if we talk to Herefara. Hail, travelers, health and fair fortune be with thee. I will aid thee, as I am able, only ask. We can actually ask him about Theodred, who was Theoden's son that was killed. Perhaps you can help us. His sword and armor are missing. If you can find them, we can bury him. So there's two swords that we will need to locate, but they're actually both right next to each other. So you'll want to head back to that intersection and go along to the south. You may have noticed some of these houses that have been passing both in Aedoras and along the path here, but there's nothing really in any of them. The inhabitants have fled to Helm's Deep to seek refuge there, so hardly any people in them either. Come to the east towards the mountains here. The grassy valley ends in a sheer cliff. The only way to ascend or descend without meeting a swift death is to take a narrow path carved out of bare rock. The Ringbearer is entering the greatest danger he has faced so far, Morgul Vale, Valley of the Witch King. A long tilted valley, a deep gulf of shadow, runs back far into the mountains. In the distance, resting upon the black knees of the mountains, lies Minas Morgul, the accursed city of the Witch King. Paler than moon ailing in some slow eclipse, the light from its towers reminds you of the corpse light of the dead marshes, save that no fair thing can be found imprisoned here, unless Isildur's city itself can be said to be hostage of the enemy. The towers and walls have openings like countless black holes leading into emptiness, but they are filled with a constant watchfulness and hate. Sauron's pitiless fortress, stolen from Gondor long ago, is utterly corrupt. And that's the way we need to go. So we'll start along the path to the east here. And we're actually coming very close to the end of our journey with Frodo and Sam here. And we'll come to this bridge. The bridge that crosses the Morgul stream is draped in evil. The water flowing beneath it is silent, but the vapor that rises from the water is deadly cold. The Ringbearer freezes, unable to move. His gaze is fixed on the towers of the city. And like I said, you'll be unable to move here. And we'll need to use some of Galadriel's magic with the file again to break the spell on the Ringbearer. You implore the Ringbearer to move, using every power at your disposal. Finally, with a jerk, he moves his gaze away from the evil tower. Discovering to his horror, the ring fights against any attempt to turn away. All eyes are drawn to the Rohirrim fortress of Helm's Deep, where Saruman makes his final assault on the forces of Rohan. We already read that bit about the valley. So we'll want to go through the pass in the mountains. And somewhere along here you should meet another of Saruman's illusions, like we found right here in the Golden Hall. But I didn't really find any way to interact with him without some people in my party getting damaged, so I just chose to ignore him. Anyways, we'll come out of the mountain pass and we'll just keep along the path. And it should dead end here pretty soon. Dwemerborg, the haunted mountain, rises large before you, looming dark and menacing out of steep slopes of somber pines. You have come to Dimholt. The path leads into a deep glen. The dark glen ends in a sheer wall of rock, pierced by the dark door. Signs and figures too dim to read are carved above its wide arch, and fear flows from it. This is the Gate of the Dead. A figure in dark flowing robes slips towards you, sleek and silent. It raises Anduril in its hands, as it stops. Is this what you come seeking? Then it laughs and drops the hood from its face. It's a skull. Trembling, you fight against cold terror that wants you to flee this place. You fear the Dark Lord overmuch, the skull-headed wraith jeers. Better you should fear the White Hand, for it can close about you at any time. In a tinkling of cold laughter, the dark figure fades away. Anduril clatters to the stony ground, but the sound of its fall is almost drowned out by the sudden triumphant howl of orcs. So it appears we found the sword, but we'll need to deal with these orcs first. Especially since we have the Riders of Rohan here with us. It shouldn't take us too long to get rid of them. And don't worry if you get any damage to anybody during this fight. We'll get some chances to get some healing before all too long. There we go, that's all the orcs. But then you get attacked by some uruks. You know the drill by now. So once we recover Aragorn's sword after this little skirmish here, then the next thing to do will be to march on to the Fortress of Helm's Deep. And I mentioned that Frodo and Sam were coming to the end of their journey. There's not going to be too much more that we need to do with Gandalf and Aragorn and all the rest here. We're getting pretty close to the end of the game, actually. And unfortunately, like I mentioned before, there was never a game made for the Return of the King. I guess the first two didn't turn out to be as profitable as they would have liked, or whatever the reason was. These are the only two we have. Oop, just dodged on accident. There we go. Paragraph 198. The huddled, bloody body, its face contorted in an eternal snarl, lies unmoving. At its belt you see a curious hand-shaped bronze object, a stoppered flask in the shape of a hand. A healing hand? And there's some little healing potions you can take here. And also Anduril, which is what we came for. But I guess since Aragorn escaped, we'll just have to trade it to him. Guess we need to be closer, actually. And we'll equip Aragorn with his sword again. Now we just have the sword and armor of Theodred to find, and they can actually be found in the northern part of this little clearing up here. The ground here seems unusually hard. We can use our perception to find out more. There's a locked chest here, buried under a mere inch of packed earth. And we can use one of the keys that we found in the Golden Hall, the second iron key here, to open the chest. And then you'll find the magic sword and magic mail. And there's two other shields if you want to take those, if you don't have enough for everybody by now. I'm actually going to give the magic sword and the magic armor, or the shield, to Éomer. Magic mail, excuse me. So that's all we need to do here. So before we head off for Helm's Deep, we'll just need to return to Harifara and trade him Theodred's sword and armor. And that'll give your party a little bit of a stat boost when you do that. You could always keep the magic sword and armor if you wanted to. Obviously up to you. But I think the stat boost is more useful. especially since we already have everybody outfitted with armor and shields and all that. We just got the text about the grassy valley again. I guess it displays every time you pass that point. Get up here and we will trade. And yeah. Alright. You should be able to trade him the magic sword and the magic mail. But for some reason the past several times I've tried to shoot this part, it has not allowed me to interact or trade anything to Harafara. I don't even know if we can talk to him anymore. Yeah, we can. Maybe that'll help. No. Well, I don't feel like trying to go and shoot this a 5th or 6th or 7th, whatever time it is. So you should be able to trade him the magic mail and the magic sword. If not, I don't know. I don't know why it's behaving that way. But you should be able to do that. Anyways, so the next thing on the agenda is Helm's Deep, so we'll just go back the southern way like we're going towards the mountains, but we'll go west this time instead, across the bridge here. The Ring-Bearer is entering the greatest danger he has faced so far, Morgul Vale, Valley of the Witch King. I already read that as well. We can just continue along the path with Frodo. You observe a terrible sight. There's a crack of thunder and a flare of livid lightnings, forks of blue flame issuing from the towers into the sullen clouds. The earth groans, and out of the city there came a cry mixed with harsh, high voices. As the terrible cry ends, falling back through a long, sickening wail to silence, you gaze across the narrow valley. The gate of the city, like an open mouth with gleaming teeth, is gaping wide, and from the gate an army comes. Thousands of orcs, clad in sable, dark as the night, small black figures in rank upon rank, marching swiftly and silently. Before them went a great cavalry of horsemen, like ordered shadows, and at their head was one greater than the rest. It is the Witch King. Upon his hooded head he wears a helm like a crown that flickers with a perilous light. Suddenly he senses something. He stops, and scans the vale with his inhuman vision, looking for something. The Ring-Bearer. If you don't do something now, you are surely doomed. And once again, you can use the file. I think you can use Sam or Gollum's hide skill, but the file works just as well. You'd almost forgotten that you had it. Placing your hand on the file, for a second all thought of the ring leaves you. You sigh. The Witch King turns abruptly and leads the host out of the Morgul Vale, on its way to destroy Minas Tirith. And so now you're able to move again. And if we continue along the path to the east, you are nearing the gate of Minas Morgul. The city glows with a baleful light, torches from a funeral that never ends. The air carries a deathly chill, colder than winter on Caradhras. This is not a place you wish to visit. Well, obviously we will be captured if we continue any closer towards the city. But there's one thing we need to find before we go up in the mountains. If you go north from the part where the path bends south, in this place a large stone eagle toppled over to one side. I don't think that's a complete sentence. But we can use our Elbereth word of power here on the eagle. The stone melts away, revealing a living eagle. Many thanks I give, the eagle says. Healing I offer, and help in time of need. Have courage. No shadow exists that can stay the heart of one who is true. The eagle departs into the west. I guess you are healed if you do that. We'll head west towards this narrow northern path, and that'll take us up here into the mountains. Gollum creeps towards you, teeth chattering, fingers snapping. Foolish, silly, make haste. They mustn't think that danger has passed. It hasn't. Make haste. Climb stairs. And like he says, you'll just want to take this path up in the mountains until you get this box. This area is very hard to climb. You throw yourself against the stairs, but can't seem to make progress. And you can actually just use your climb skill here to help you. After catching your breath, you think it should be easier to climb now. And there aren't really any branching paths or any way to deviate from this route here. You'll get another text when you go further along. This arduous climb is taking its toll on you. Do you wish to get some rest? And it's best to do that when prompted to. And we get text box 22. At this point in the quest, your thought goes back to the first age of Middle-earth, and the quest of Beren and Luthien to take the great jewel from Morgoth, the master of Sauron. Why that was a worse place and a blacker danger than ours, you state. You try to remember the first stanzas of the Lay of Lethian, I think is how you say it. A king there was in days of old, ere men yet walked upon the mound. His power was reared in cavern shade, his hand was over glen and glade. Of leaves his crown, his mantles green, his silver lances long and keen. The starlight in his shield was caught, ere moon was made or sun was wrought. You continue to recite the poem, and it brings comfort to you on the borders of this evil land. Gollum looks at you in annoyance. Not safe yet. Must go further, yes, my precious. Just a few more steps, yes. A few more steps, and we shall be there. And we can just continue along the path. We should be getting close to the end here before all too long. I'm just curious what the map looks like. Nothing around other than the path. Though it is hard to see in this shadow, you can see a red light coming from beyond the pass, and a jutting stone like a slender horn behind the tunnel from which a lit fire burns. I wonder if you can find anything else out right there. Your heart sinks. Clearly this must be a tower, guarding the eastern portion of Cirith Ungol. Gollum says, all ways are watched, yes, but this may be least watch. Perhaps they've all gone away to big battle, perhaps. Anyways, we have the cave entrance here. And with that, we're going back to Gandalf. But I think that'll be a good place for us to bring this part of our journey to a close. And we can continue the ride to Helm's Deep to defend it from Saruman, and Frodo's quest to pass the mountains into Mordor in the next video.